In the declining years of the Roman Empire, as the story goes, Saint Servatius brought the Christian faith to these regions. Some people thought he came from the East. Others claimed he was related to Christ. Through the centuries, dozens of thick books were written about Servatius. But what we actually know about him can be summed up in only a few sentences. It is a fact that a certain Servatius, Bishop of Tongres, attended a few synods around the year 350. It is also established that he mediated in a conflict between two candidates to the emperor's throne in Rome. Subsequently, he disappeared out of the public eye. French Bishop Gregory of Tours was not familiar with Servatius's life when he heard about him 2 centuries later. Returned pilgrims were able to tell him that Servatius was buried in Maastricht and that miracles occurred around his grave. Gregory investigated the case and wrote about it in one of his books. He found out that Servatius had been a bishop in Tongres. In Rome, the Apostle Peter had allegedly appeared unto him and told him that his city would be destroyed. Servatius went home immediately, packed his things, and left for Maastricht. He died there soon after. Years after his death, his grave attracted so many worshippers that one of his successors had a stone church built there. The church was the predecessor of the current St. Servatius Church. The short story of Gregory of Tours has been continually embellished and complemented throughout the centuries, always aimed at emphasizing Servatius's saintliness. After all, having a saint's grave was a rich source of income in the Middle Ages. At the end of the 12th century, the first biographies of Servatius appeared in the national language. The legend of Saint Servatius, by 12th century poet Heinrich van Veldeke, is one of the oldest and most famous biographies. All these stories attracted more and more believers to Maastricht. Especially during the annual big Servaasfeest, the celebration of Saint Servatius in May, there was a flood of people. Souvenirs that the pilgrims had brought back from the city of Saint Servatius at that time were discovered in numerous European countries. In the course of the 13th and 14th century, many Western European cities organized so-called Heiligdomsfahrten, pilgrimages. These journeys to the sanctuaries mobilized a huge number of pilgrims. In Maastricht, this occurred every 7 years. The pilgrimage to Maastricht always started on the 9th of July and lasted 2 weeks. The believers who visited the saint's grave earned an indulgence. With this indulgence, they could considerably reduce the amount of time they had to spend in purgatory after death and go to heaven sooner. The highlight of the Maastricht pilgrimage was the exhibition of objects that allegedly belonged to St. Servatius from the Dorf Gallery of St. Servatius Church on the Friedhof Square. After the pilgrimage, there was a fair. During the 16th century, the interest in the Maastricht pilgrimage diminished rapidly. The same thing happened to the faith in the wondrous powers of St. Servatius. It was the period of the Reformation. Catholics thought it was unwise to parade their faith. It was not until the 19th century that the remains of St. Servatius and his belongings were exhibited in the church again. Since 1874, the pilgrimages had been reinstated, and new translations and adaptations of the legend of St. Servatius appeared again. Even now, people still regularly write about him, but we still know hardly anything about the real Bishop Servatius.